just wanting to be part of something a bit bigger or just venture out, into, a big city like Sydney or Melbourne or whatever it is. And just sort of be in an area where you've got, like-minded people, or you're just trying to grow or whatever it is. But very quickly became a very literal idea with the train trip and going back and forth.
Yeah, I think just everything just sort of happened naturally. Just, whatever, how long we were sort of gone for a little bit, just sort of happened. But it just gave us time to sort of fine tune and see what sort of direction, the sound we want to go for. And I'm pretty stoked at how it's going.
Honestly, people usually fascinated by the fact that we're going back to the Central Coast, like we're going back to Port Macquarie or something. I'm just like, no, it's literally just like the other side of Palm Beach kind of thing. But I think there's just that there's just a different vibe there where it's like a city versus regional kind of thing. And it's just that constant mental bounce between the two kind of thing. Like you're trying to pursue something that's more sort of centered somewhere else kind of thing, and you're just back and forth, and then you come back to the coast and escape.
For another home brew. All right. We did it. We made it. All right. We are set up. We're at Sonora Studios. We are joined for the...
I haven't checked. Well...
third? Including the cafe one?
Including the cafe one.
Is that correct? Is that correct on your records?
I think that's
Luke?
correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, third chat. And you know what? I actually will start off the bat by saying this. We're joined by Sugar Soap, Luke and Jordy Mahler. We're very, very excited to have you guys, and we have been following you since inception or close to.
Yeah, I want to go that far.
I would say since inception, I reckon. And one of my favourite episodes that we did was the cafe sessions one with you guys, as part of what it was then known, the Central Coast Music Festival back in 2021 or 2022 maybe.
22 and then 23 it became Tubular.
Yes, that's right. Has
there been two Tubulars?
I think the second one's yet to happen, maybe.
Yeah.
The second one will be this year. Yeah. So,
but that chat, I would encourage anyone listening to go back and listen to it, because you guys did this really awesome stripped back live semi-acoustic, but it wasn't, because you had an amp and a bunch of other effects on it too. But it sounded fantastic, and it's one of those ones that I like to go back and listen to, just to listen to how those songs translated in that way too, and the vibe. It was really nice, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the setup you guys had was perfect for the vibe, and everyone who was there, because you guys were, I think, the last ones to do it, which is probably 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think we were playing that night as well. I think we were playing down with the Stills at the Lansdowne that night, so we had the two gigs in one. Yeah,
it was a nice little warm up.
It was a good warm up.
Yeah, but I think it was early afternoon, the sun was out, the setup you guys had, it was just a perfect
it was a good
way
vibe.
to conclude
we loved it.
Yeah, and it was good fun. And I don't think we've seen you since.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe there's been some bumping into it,
I think maybe
music
just the
events.
gigs.
Well,
Yeah.
At that Central Coast Music Festival. No, or was it Tubular? I can't remember. But we have seen you around at things.
We've seen each other since.
But in terms of sitting down and having a chat, I think this is the first time since the cafe sessions.
Yes, and so therefore we have 2 years worth to catch up on. And one thing we were speaking about off air was, in that last conversation, you guys were a trio, and you had Dan as well as part of the band.
Yeah.
Now you're a duo. So you were telling us that was amicable, no dramas there whatsoever. But what was it like going from that transition back down to a duo?
I think it obviously a little bit different for the live aspect. I think just only having two people on stage is very different from three, just aesthetically and everything, but also in the room as well, just with recording and production. We were sort of just back to the two of us, but I think it was just sort of a change that we just had to adapt with, kind of thing. And we didn't really see it as a negative thing. We just sort of keep moving with what we were presented with, kind of thing. So
And was Dan, did he leave because he had to go back to Matchbox 20?
No.
Is that...
Yeah. I forgot about that one. Yeah.
You remember that.
The Rob Thomas reference.
Literally,
Yes.
like, my memory of that day is just saying to him, you sound so much like Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20. And I couldn't tell if he was offended or whether he took it as a compliment.
I think he took it as a compliment. Yeah.
And how have things changed? So we've heard Living Uptown, which is your latest release.
Living uptown, living uptown, living uptown, living uptown. Silent fun. She'll stay all night. Rush right back like a weather to change my mind. To rush right back again.
And that track's really fun. It's really bright, and it's a step kind of more into just indie with like indie pop, I suppose. That element's, I'm bad at defining, so feel free to correct it.
Yeah, no, that's basically what we're going for.
Yeah, and it sounds really bright and fun. Like I really loved in that track what you guys did. You had those like wacky in a good way vocals and synths that just kind of came in at the end that weren't exactly what you expected to happen. But that sound is something of a departure from what you guys were maybe doing previously, or an evolution, I would say. So is that kind of part of what's come with this change of the band's makeup, is a shift in sound a little bit?
Yeah, I think we've definitely sort of altered our sound to more, like we've sort of fine-tuned it to, going for that indie sort of pop rock sort of vibe, yeah.
Maybe like Foster the People kind of stuff. Listening to a lot of Empire of the Sun, seems that they're back in action lately as well. We saw them play live maybe a year ago, I think it was, and then we're going to go and see them again. We've always loved Luke Steele's stuff, so maybe just incorporating a bit more indie dance synthesizer type stuff in there kind of thing, and maybe even to fill out the fact that we're a two-piece too, having some sort of washy synths and stuff in the background there too.
Yeah, so what is the setup now with just the two of you? Obviously, one less person to play an instrument, so how do you balance that role between just two?
At the moment, with the live set, so it's just two of us, but we're running like track production and things like that to fill in the gaps. But eventually we're sort of wanting to maybe get a couple of people with us on stage as well to fill it out as like maybe a 4-piece vibe or something with keys, bass, that kind of thing. But at the moment, we've kind of found it to work all right, just as a 2-piece.
There's no other brothers who are musically talented that you can rope in?
Well, if we can steal Tom from the Moving Stills, but he's pretty flat out. So.
And so that makes Luke your lead guitar and vocals, and Jordy your drums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Backing vocal.
And backing vocals as well.
Reluctantly, I'm getting the vibe of that.
You've got good inspiration within the family as well, surely.
Yeah, no, it's definitely always pretty inspiring to just bounce ideas around and that kind of thing. So
Yeah. And in terms of what's inspiring your music itself, I know based on your socials that you guys had, I don't know if it was together or separate, done a fair bit of travel in the lead up to the latest song from you, Living Uptown.
Yeah.
How were those trips, and have they inspired and factored into your music?
Yeah, so I guess in a way, like that's the other thing, like this Living Uptown song, like it's kind of, it's got its own meaning, which I guess we can talk about soon, just between, the Central Coast and traveling into the city, in our case it's Sydney, but it's just sort of a bit of a stamp of or a sign of the times kind of thing for us, because we just like coincidentally went traveling on 2 different trips. I went to Japan with my partner, and then Jordy, Tom and Pepper went to Norway, sort of overlapping.
So he's wearing a Norway cap, which Eamon's
Norway cap.
Yeah. Jordy's wearing a cap with a Norwegian flag and it says Norway on it. It goes fitting.
Yeah, and basically, just kind of, we just found ourselves getting a whole bunch of footage and almost like a travel vlog vibe kind of thing. If you've seen the film clip, it's kind of just a whole mashup of that in amongst, us just hanging out and stuff. But yeah, no, I think like going on, just it was actually both of our first times overseas as well. So that was another big eye-opening sort of thing for us. So maybe just in a way, like just a bit of a readjustment type song kind of thing, and just eye-opening thing, just seeing the world for the first time, and being in transit kind of thing, I suppose.
So how many cities or countries did you visit on your travels?
So I visited Singapore and Japan, and then Jordy, you visited just Norway, but you went all over the place.
Well, yeah, like in the transit or whatever, like stopped at Dubai, then went to like Oslo in Norway, and then Stavanger.
And how is it like going on that first overseas trip? So obviously you're both creative people, and you were inspired by the world around you, and then to have what is always going to be transformational in one way or another, going overseas for the first time. Were you like over there going, this is really informing how I want to make music, or was that not really front of mind and you're just enjoying it at the time?
I guess it really makes you like, I don't know, it's just it's a nice setback, sort of being away from like your normal everyday life. Like you sort of get to live this other different life, which is pretty awesome. And yeah, I guess, yeah, pretty inspiring to like, yeah, just think about certain things, and yeah, can sort of spark a creative thing out of it.
Yeah, I think probably the same for me too. Like it wasn't necessarily like, oh, I'm going to go here and write a bunch of songs from it kind of thing, but it was more just generally just being thrown into a completely different culture and different way of living or something. And then, yeah, maybe like over time that might rub off on the future songs we write.
You've also gone, I think, relatively... For your first overseas trip, you're going to where English isn't really a first language. Like they all would learn it and speak it, but you're going somewhere where at least if, you know, my first overseas was America technically, but by myself or with a mate, it was to Europe, where you can get by, or you know little phrases of French or Italian or whatever the case is. But like Norway, Japan, Singapore, they're probably culturally a massive far cry from what we're used to over here as well.
And I think that's one thing that I just really loved, especially about Japan, is just, you know, there's a language barrier there, but like you can make it work and people are there so friendly and everything. But just I think what Jordy was saying, just like kind of stepping away from like the everyday norms, like, you know, it's just so different to the Central Coast in New South Wales and Australia. Like it's just a breath of fresh air. And then coming back here, it's just sort of like recalibrating or something. So yeah.
I'd imagine you'd get a train in Japan.
Yes.
So I'd imagine then coming back on the T1 Newcastle Central Coast line, you're going, this is horrendous.
It's just another dimension, yeah.
Because I don't want to bring it back here straight away. I'd still like to learn more and pick your brain about those travels. But yeah, that is just it. Straight away it jumped out. I was like, our public transport system is shit compared to.
Yeah, exactly. And then with the bullet trains as well. What we do have is that trip up the Hawkesbury, which is beautiful, but very slow.
Yeah, you can't deny it's pretty beautiful around
and
there.
you're forced to look out the window because you get no phone reception. So you have to stop scrolling for a minute.
That's
and then
true.
Look out the window and then, okay, we're back.
Yeah.
We're back. But so Japan, Singapore, they're probably two places that I would like to travel. Haven't been to yet, but would like to. Were they always number one destination for you in terms of overseas travel?
Yeah, I think Japan, it was always like on the top of the list. Norway's definitely next kind of thing for me personally.
After hearing all the stories.
After hearing all the stories. Yeah.
And what about Norway? And you went with Tom and Pepper as well, Jordy. Like what inspired that trip? And
well, our mum's Norwegian, so we got a lot of relatives over there and stuff. So yeah, it was pretty cool hanging out with them.
Yeah, and that connection, I suppose, to the family that you hadn't met. Well, I don't know if you'd met them before, but obviously you haven't been there before, and it's this connection to like a culture that's connected to you that you had not previously had. And then Living Uptown, we spoke on Messenger about that back and forth, but about its meaning, and you referenced it before, Luke, in terms of it's very much relevant to anyone who's ever lived on the Central Coast and visited Sydney and had a big night, or even just, you know, had to go home at the end of the day and get that train trip that we were just referencing.
You might have seen the moving stills at the Lansdowne, and then you got the train straight back to the coast afterwards.
There's an example right there.
Yeah, so talk to us about what went into that song, and is it literally that verbatim? It's like it's about getting that trip home, because for me, when I heard it, I was saying off mic, I just had a big night down in the city and had to get that train home and just sat there and waited. And it was actually pretty pleasant for what it's worth, but I was like, yeah, it was just very fresh in my mind. So when I heard the song, I was like, is that what I think it is, or am I projecting?
Yeah, no, you're pretty spot on. I think like the initial idea was more just around like just wanting to be part of something a bit bigger, or just venture out, into, a big city like Sydney or Melbourne or whatever it is. And just sort of be in an area where you've got, like-minded people, or you're just trying to grow or whatever it is. But very quickly became a very literal idea with the train trip and going back and forth, because obviously living in a town a cluster of towns like the Central Coast, it's, opportunities of, sort of hit and miss kind of thing, depending on what you're doing and that sort of thing. And luckily for us musicians, like things are taking a turn with Central Coast music and arts and everything, and things are starting to flourish now a bit. But a lot of it's just sort of, you've always going down to Sydney for gigs, like whether you're playing or seeing a gig or whatever, and then you're coming back here. And I think it's just about trying to fit in and things like that as well. So, yeah.
Because there is that thing, I don't know if you've had it, and because you guys would probably fraternise with like Sydney musicians a bit more, but when I've been down in Sydney in the past and you'll meet someone and they'll be like, you're from the Central Coast, aren't you? And I would go, how do you know? And they go, I can tell. I can tell. And I'm like, what do you mean you can tell? I didn't think there was that.
You're too relaxed.
It was so identifiable, yeah. But like there's that like line in the sand, like point of difference that they can identify. Is that something that you guys have had before?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I mean, honestly, people usually fascinated by the fact that we're going back to the Central Coast, like we're going back to Port Macquarie or something. I'm just like, no, it's literally just like the other side of Palm Beach kind of thing. But I think there's just that there's just a different vibe there, where it's like a city versus regional kind of thing. And it's just that constant like mental bounce between the two kind of thing. Like you're trying to pursue something that's more sort of centered somewhere else kind of thing, and you're just back and forth, and then you come back to the coast and escape, which can obviously be a good thing, because, it's a very inspiring place to live and everything. So, yeah.
Please tell me that song was written on a late night train ride from Central Station up to the coast.
I think it was written in the car, I think, the initial idea. So
close enough. You can see the train for some of the parts.
You can see the train for some of it.
So,
you can. And how's the writing process go for you guys? Previously, I'm not sure how much it was Dan's involvement as well. And we know that Sugar Soap's origin, for those who might be listening to them for the first time, was just you two more or less at the beginning, and Dan came in quite early on, and then you guys went the way you went. So now, is that writing process pretty much unchanged, or has there been differences there in how you're producing and writing?
It's sort of almost different every song, I guess. But it's more or less the same. Like Luke will come up with an idea, and we'll just sort of build from that. Adding in, try this melody, or just sort of we build it together. But I think generally you sort of start the idea. Or?
Yeah, I think generally I've kind of written like the core of most of the songs, but we're starting to collaborate a bit more with those very early like initial ideas. Now Jordy's sort of coming up with beats and things that I might actually write to as well on the guitar and things. So it's kind of as Jordan said, it's quite different song to song. But like to answer your question about 3-piece to 2-piece, like I think in a way like it's probably changed in the way that like maybe effectively now I'm sort of writing a lot of the guitar parts and things like that. But it's not, a negative thing or anything like that. It's just different.
No, that's what the difference has been reflecting. It was really nice. I did like those elements that you threw into Living Uptown that were just like a little bit unexpected, but like had this, I don't know, they were like, they were fun and they were unexpected, and they sounded really good within it. So is that a conscious thing, or is that just like the song was developing? Because what I'm trying to say is you probably could have, like, you could have presented that song without those elements and it would have been a good song. And those, for me as a listener, when you have those little elements like those synth things and that, I can't remember what the lyric is, but that's real high pitch. It's like an echoey high pitch.
Just like the BV, the background vocals, just
Yeah.
the R's and stuff. Yeah,
I think that's what I'm trying to reference. But adding those in just takes that song that step up, and it lives in your mind more. It sounds different. So is adding elements like that kind of something that you're really setting out with the intention to do, or you made the song and you went, this would go really well?
I think maybe there's a bit of intention there. Like I think, like I was saying before, we're just trying to maybe naturally want to fill the sound out a little bit more, just being a two-piece and everything. So, but also like just wanting to maybe step up our production and everything a little bit too, in certain areas, but also just experimenting too, I would say. Like we're just kind of, really trying to tap into that indie sort of sound that a lot of bands are doing, but try and put our own little flavor on it as well. But yeah, I would just say just experimenting and just trying to build a new chapter.
And how much of your production process is done in-house, and how much of that do you send away to get produced or
at the moment? We're doing it all ourselves. But
from demo to final production, or yourselves?
From demo to final production. Like we use, we have sent it off for mastering and things, but at the moment we've done the mixes and everything.
Yep.
But in future we're looking to collaborate more with other producers and things. Similar to, adding those different sounds into Living Uptown, like just wanting to sort of spread our wings a little bit and, be resourceful and just try new things.
And how much do you think being brothers helps in all of your collaborative aspects? Like there's almost like there's that relationship there where you can put forward an idea and not worry about it being shut down or not having to take it personally because it's your brother, right? At the end of the day, you're in a band together, so you've got a good relationship. How's that sort of, I guess, trust or safety net there? Is that reflective in, your approach to how you collaborate?
I think it's helped a lot. Like we're pretty fortunate to be in the same house. A lot easier to get the stuff done, or be in the same room versus trying to catch up or whatever.
Trying to get logistically keep a band together in the same room. I think it's been like just really just convenient in a way. And obviously like Tom, our brother, as you know, like he's always there as well. So we're sort of always like, even though we're playing in different acts or whatever, we're still kind of collaborating in different ways too. So
yeah, I did want to ask about that. Do you bounce off one another in terms of, does Tom come to you with stuff and you go to Tom with stuff, or you need a hand finding or playing a certain sound that you have in your head that you can't quite translate or something like that? Is that what occurs in the household? Yeah,
well, I guess we just use each other as like, another set of ears kind of thing. Like we sort of trust each other's judgments and things with sounds, and maybe before we release a song or before we do something, we'll just run it past each other, or what would you do to this, or what would you change? And but we've always like stepped in for each other with live shows and things like that. So yeah, there's always collaboration in some way going on.
The Mahlers or the Hemsworths of Central Coast music, by the sounds of things. But do you ever write something and then you go, actually, this might be better suited for a Moving Steels track, and then vice versa? Tom might have something and goes, actually, I think it'd be more suitable for you guys. Has that ever happened?
It hasn't happened yet, but I'm sure it might happen. We're sort of yet to do a bit more writing together, so that could be a thing in the future. Yeah,
because you just hear about people writing something for their own project and then going, actually, you'd be better off utilizing that. There you go. And just with the relationship, obviously, that you have as brothers, you wouldn't be going, oh, that bastard stole my guitar riff, or that was my lyric.
Yeah, totally. No, I'm sort of all about that stuff. Like, again, the collaboration and all that kind of thing, just writing with other people and just bouncing ideas off, and maybe writing the way that you wouldn't normally write, and just getting inspired by someone else's process as well.
Yeah. And have you found collaboration, like not having released anything necessarily yet, but collaboration with other artists on the coast?
Yeah, but we collaborated a couple of times. I kind of recently, as part of the Tubular Festival, I think it was actually, did a bit of a writing session with Sam Wineley, and
Is it Windley?
I think it's Windley or Windley. Is it?
We've always said Windley.
I was going to say, but we have a checkered past in terms of getting these things right. So,
But yeah, that was really cool. And Lola Scott was part of that too. So that was probably the most recent thing I've done, like collaborating outside of the brothers kind of thing. But yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of, as you know, like a lot of artists planted around the Central Coast. So it's, you know, it's very easy just to look around and be like, oh, let's organise a writing session or get in the same room. So yeah,
And I think everyone's pretty open, at least, to the fact of a collaboration. No one's going, no, rack off, like,
Yeah.
I'm doing my own thing. Everyone from the coast seems to know each other or have a connection to each other in one way or another, where they'd be willing to help out and get together in a room and just write some stuff.
Yeah, no, totally. I think just not having an expectation too, just going in there and sort of having fun with it and just trying to vibe kind of thing, not being like, oh, we definitely need a song, you know, written by the end of the day. It just maybe could just be the start of something. So yeah.
And how tied is your identity of what you're doing to the coast? Obviously, that track that we're talking about is about getting a train back to the Central Coast and all of that. How much is connected to the coast, and then how much of it are you going, well, we still have, I guess, a bit of a footprint in Sydney. We don't want to completely isolate ourselves from that marketplace too.
Yeah, I don't usually want to like tie us to a location too much, but like, you know, obviously proud to be on the coast and everything, but really just you know, just living in this part of the world, really, I think we're just really fortunate to have, you know, even just the east coast of Australia, really. I think, you know, we've played up in Byron and Gold Coast and things like that as well, and there's just so many great acts, and I really just see, you know, us as hopefully like part of that kind of movement kind of thing of just bands coming out of that area of Australia.
Well, visually, you do match very much an East Coast beach vibe, whether it is the Central Coast or Byron Bay or something like that. So at least brand-wise, looking at you, you've definitely got an East Coast tour up and down, absolutely down pat. And that is a compliment as well, by the way.
on that note, you said you guys have been focusing on kind of writing and everything else in the last little bit. We've got that first single now in a while. Are there any shows in the works or live gigging in the pipeline?
We are in the works of trying to lock in some live shows, but I guess at the moment we're just sort of just sitting back trying to get, I guess, the music right, and then hopefully within the new year we'll sort of hopefully dial and get some live shows on the run.
Yeah, I think probably even earlier, like we're just sort of thinking like the summer season, really, like December onwards, we're going to try and schedule in some shows and things.
East Coast beach vibes.
East Coast beach vibes.
Coming back for the summer.
But yeah, as Jordan was saying, it's just the focus has really just been on trying to make some more music, make some new stuff that we're really proud of, and sort of create a bit of a new chapter for the band. So yeah.
And in terms of what that new music might look like, we have one taste of it in Living Uptown. Is there anything else you can share with us about when or what might be coming next? Yeah,
so we've got like a lot of stuff kind of, as Jordan was saying, you know, we've been sort of like digging away at stuff over the last year. So we've got, you know, a string of singles kind of lined up. So yeah, we're going to drop another one by the end of the year, which we're excited about. And yeah, we'll announce that very soon.
And I'm also curious to know, going back to Norway and Japan and Singapore, did you catch any live music while you were over there, or it was purely not to escape, but, you know, get away from the world, which is music, and just explore a different culture?
Well, I went to a lot of guitar shops in Japan, in Tokyo, but I didn't catch any live music, unfortunately. But I know that Jordy, you guys went to some pretty good shows over there.
Yeah, I saw a cool Norwegian band called Mildfire. Okay. And they're pretty like sort of experimental, like instrumental sort of stuff. Yeah, that was why we're in Oslo, which is pretty cool. But we also went to Bergenfest.
Right. What's Bergenfest?
Well, it's in Bergen in Norway. Yeah, we actually saw like Royal Otis.
Oh, cool.
They played there, and we just managed to somehow line it up where we could go see them play there, and yeah, that was pretty cool.
Did you get to meet them?
Yeah, well, we actually sort of got in through them.
Oh, right.
Yeah, which
That's
is kind of neat.
How did that work?
I just
Who slid? Oh, so you slid into the DMs, or
yeah, a bit of that. Yeah, yeah.
not revealing too many secrets, so we can't.
Tom sort of knows sort of the guys and that. But yeah, we saw like Jungle played. We only went for one day. It was a 3-day festival, but I think the day before Fontaine's DC played. Would have been cool to see them, but
And
maybe next time.
What's the experience like going to a live show in Norway? How does it compare to going to a festival or a gig here?
I found it pretty similar. Like,
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like it definitely felt more alive in a way. Like, not to take away from the Australian music scene or festival, but I don't know. Yeah, it was pretty. Yeah, it was pretty nice.
Would that be, do you think, just yourself too? Like being in a different country, different environment, you were already heightened to then be at that going, oh, like you're just taking everything in, where if you were in Sydney or whatever, you'd be like, oh yeah, I'm in Sydney, I've been here 1,000 times.
I think that was definitely an element as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just curious because I guess Tokyo, a live show in Tokyo would be wildly different to what it would be like. I mean, I'm making an assumption, I don't know, but just based on what I know of Japanese culture, a live show there would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think, there's definitely a big like heavy music scene and stuff over there too, from what I hear. So, as well as all the pop stuff. But yeah, I'd be keen to go and see like some indie sort of shows over there and things next time. It's just another excuse to go back, basically. So
Yeah, and you can't have too many of those. Is J-pop a thing? Is that a real thing?
J-pop's huge there.
It is. Okay,
Yeah.
so why does K-pop get all the limelight?
I'm not sure.
It's like you always.
That's what I was wondering.
They've got a
whole
better
time.
marketing team.
Yeah, dead set. It's crazy because I don't know if this J-pop's like this. Maybe it's a fan model that bands in Australia would aspire to. I don't know. It's kind of scary, but the fandom around some of those acts is like insane. Like it's like they could tell their fans to like burn a city down, and their fans would do that. So maybe we can get the cult of sugar soap happening here in the Central Coast, and then you can order some destructions or something like that. Jordy. I'm not cutting that out. Jordy, on Royal Otis, I always have a question about Royal Otis, right? I've looked at their socials a lot of times. I missed the opportunity to see them live at the entrance last year because I was away when they played right near where I used to live. But does the guy with the pink hair, do you ever see his face? Because as far as I'm aware on their socials, I've never seen his face looking at their socials.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
But was that because Tom was like, hey, can you just pull your fringe back? Or was it?
No, after the show we met him, and yeah, he just sort of introduced himself and that. But I guess it's part of their image, and I think he's sort of. I think he said he's like a bit anxious, or he doesn't want to be sort of famous, so to speak. But yeah, I don't know. He does show his face sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'd heard one of my mates told me it was something like that too. It was like like stage anxiety or something to that degree. Yeah. And then I was like looking, and I was like, yeah, they do such a crisp job on their socials that every single thing that's posted, even videos and things like that, you can't really see his face. I'm not sure whether that's Royal or whether that's Otis of the band, but
Roy.
That's Roy. Yeah. So it's just like the cool little part of their mythos. I think of Royal Otis. Yeah,
I think it works well. Like it's pretty good for their image. It gets people thinking and talking about them. So yeah,
as we are right now.
Very Sia-esque.
Yes. Someone was telling me about that the other day too. I forgot that she did that. Sia was like that. I haven't seen.
Wait, you forgot about Sia, or you forgot that Sia had the wig that covered her whole face?
I kind of forgot about Sia. Like, you don't forget about Sia. She's had some pretty influential songs, but she's not really top of my radar week to week. And then a guy I was working with was talking about having seen her once, and apparently she was, very much like that. One show she was like hiding at the back of the stage, kind of like letting dancers do the performance side, and she would just sing. It's interesting. I remember, I think Lady Hawk was similar, or is similar as well. And it is interesting how people with those anxieties, or just who don't want a bar of it, can then navigate being really good at music and people wanting to see them in their thousands.
Yeah, it's interesting how people can find that little way around, like, because being a musician, some sort of celebrity or fame or just your image being plastered everywhere comes with the territory. Same way if you act in movies, you can't then go, oh no, I don't want anyone to. It's like, well, it comes with the territory. If you're getting into this job, you've got to expect some level of that. Obviously, some people take it far over the top, but there is some level of that. So the little workarounds that people make. You mentioned Lady Hawk. Moving Stills covered Lady Hawk for the Leica version, and you guys were also in the studio with them for their original.
Oh, West Side.
I believe it was. I did West Side in the studio. Yeah, I jumped in
on backing vocals.
Yeah. What was that experience like?
Oh, it was really eye-opening and everything. Like, I mean, obviously, like being a musician in a like up-and-coming musician in Australia, you know, over the last decade or so, like, you know, you watch so many bands going to the Triple J studio and doing like versions and the Live at the Wireless and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it was really cool to actually like physically go there and check out how it all happens behind the scenes.
Yeah, yeah. And were there any, I mean, I know there's stuff that like they say not to reveal, but were there any things that you can reveal about it that were like, wow?
Oh, not so much. It was, I was just more fascinated by how quickly it all came together. You know, the crew and the guy who, you know, actually does all the mixes and stuff with all the bands. Like, it's just top-notch quality and everything, and he just pulls a mix within 5 minutes of doing a take, and yeah, it's just amazing.
And I would imagine it would be a pretty surreal experience being in that studio, having watched so many videos of bands performing in that studio, to walk through those doors and be like, oh, I'm here.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, well, I think mainly it was just like, yeah, I was just getting flashbacks to like certain corners of the room and stuff, being like, oh, I think I remember the drummer of this band, like there's a scene where they're there or something. And but yeah, no, the whole experience was just cool, like you know, all the cameras and stuff, and yeah, obviously, you know, Ultimo down there, it's a real vibey happening place, so it's just really cool to be invited along and go up into the studio where it all happens.
How long did you have to prepare from when you were told, hey, you know, the Steels are doing like a version on this date? How long did you have to sort of rehearse with the band? And
I think it might have been a couple of weeks or something like that, but I think I had possibly filled in for the Stills a couple of times. Anyway. So I knew some of the parts already. So it wasn't too bad, but it was more just excitement. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I want to jump back into your creative process too, because you did mention before that like the majority of everything is done in-house. The production side of that, how long has that been on your radar? Has that always been how you've done it, or is it something you've had to learn? Because we know we're at Sonora Studios now. We've spoken to Jack Negro a lot about this, that there is so much that can go into producing. And when I think of Living Uptown, for example, it doesn't sound bedroom by any means. So is that something you've been working at for some time?
Yeah, well, I actually went to uni with Jack at JMC.
You?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, we went to JMC together.
How old are you?
I am 29, embarrassingly, but yeah.
Really?
We're 28 and 29.
I'm 29 too.
Yeah.
I thought you were younger.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good thing to hear.
I've actually always thought the same as well. So there you go.
Oh,
so you're a 95 baby?
I am.
What month?
94, actually. Yeah.
94?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, so were you studying production?
Yeah, so I was studying at JMC, and I basically, you know, wanted to explore that kind of world, like all of us, like us three boys, obviously grew up playing music and everything, and I was the first one out of school and everything, and I wanted to just go and explore production. I just couldn't see myself doing anything else than, you know, music and things that relate to music. So I always just wanted to explore the whole concept of production and that kind of thing, because I had gone and recorded in a studio like just after high school, I think, and did one song, and that just made me go like, yeah, this is really cool, like kind of like the room we're in right now kind of thing, you know, just the mics everywhere, and just being able to make something sound so big out of the speakers and everything. I just thought that was really cool. And, you know, a lot of artists like Matt Corby and stuff at the time were doing, you know, a lot of like producing themselves and stuff, and I thought that's really cool too. So I guess just trying to develop my skills over the years, like after studying as well, and just incorporate it into, you know, any music that I'm making at any time, even just being able to write and lay down demos and get someone else to do the final product, another engineer, so I can just be the musician. But having that kind of skill set or just a little bit of know-how can be really useful sometimes. So yeah.
Would you have a hard time now passing off the mix to another producer, having done it yourself for so long? Are you quite protective over that, or would you welcome outside input?
Maybe I used to be a little bit protective potentially, but I think these days I'm fully open to it. I think it's just really cool, like what fresh ears can do to a song. You just work on a song for weeks, months, if not years, and then you sort of get used to the demo version, or you're just so like fatigued by listening to the same thing looped over and over, and you don't know if it's good anymore or bad anymore. And sometimes giving it to someone just who hasn't heard it before and just does their magic to it can be a really cool thing. So,
and I'm in no way comparing our podcast to your music, but I'm just thinking if we outsourced the production of our podcast, I would have a hard time hiring a professional to do it. I just think, even though I know that someone else would do a better job than what we do, there is still something, and what we're doing isn't at all complicated, but there would be an element of, I value, I guess, the way that we would do it over someone else. But then again, that person could add elements to the podcast that we would never think to do. It's just, I guess, weighing up how much you would outsource that and how much input you would still want to have on the track.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think even if it's for us, like even if it's a song by song basis, if we sort of get to a point with a song and we don't know what to do with it anymore, that's probably a good sign to be like, well, let's see what someone else would do. So
putting it in the bin, just go, hey,
exactly.
Can you fix this?
Exactly right.
Yeah, it's an interesting process, and I'm picking up from a couple of things that you've mentioned that at least recently, and I don't know if this is band wide or if it's just you, Luke, that the collaboration approach is, or your philosophy to music creation is opening or changing more to something that revolves around collaboration and community more.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's really important kind of thing. Like, not only in obviously live music, especially for a place like the Central Coast, but also just like in general, really, like whether it's through social media or just like community or that kind of thing. I think it's just cool if there's a bit of a scene there and you can sort of help lift each other up, kind of thing, in a way. I think that's kind of how I see it these days. So
it's a great way to be. And do you think that's tied to the trajectory that the Central Coast scene has been on, that you're kind of watching that unfold and going, well, this seems to work and this is what makes things better, so I'll keep doing that?
I think so, yeah. I think, I guess just as an example, I suppose Mumbo's at Terrigal, they're doing really cool stuff, doing like midweek gigs and stuff and creating something for people to go out to, like just as if you're in the city or something. There's some stuff going on in the middle of the week, and it's just kind of a bit of a catch up, like a like-minded sort of space for people to go and see music. So I think things like that definitely align with how I see, music going.
And I'd imagine a Mumbo's crowd on a Wednesday night, they're there because they want to see live music.
Exactly.
They haven't just stumbled across it on a weekend, or they went to go out for dinner with friends and they went, oh my God, there's a band playing, how annoying, I just want to talk to friends. It's a known thing, Wednesday night Mumbo's music.
Yeah, I think you guys might have been talking about this with Joel in that episode too. Yeah. I think it's because we've played a few shows there, and each time it's been, we sort of notice a few familiar faces coming in and stuff, and they're obviously going to just check out whoever's playing, like maybe not even look at the poster, but they'll just go along and get surprised by who's playing or whatever. And I think that's just really important, because it's just getting people in front of up and coming bands and stuff.
Yeah, and it's become this thing where it's, oh, how exciting, I'm playing Mumbo's Wednesday night. Like, it's become now for artists coming through, like that's a little tick on their way to the top sort of thing. Like, okay, yeah, totally. Cool, I've played Mumbo's, tick, I've made it to this level, let's keep climbing up that ladder sort of thing. Like, there's across the road from my work, there's a girl who works in the cafe who, she's a sort of emerging artist, and she was so stoked that she got to play Mumbo's one night. Like, she was so excited that, oh cool, I'm playing Mumbo's.
Yeah, well, I think it's, you know, it's they're very open to, you know, any acts with interest kind of thing. That they're, you know, you'll get a show there, and you know, I'm not sure exactly what the format is these days. If it's 2 bands or 3 bands a night, I'm not sure. But you know, if you get a few up and coming bands and stuff playing half an hour or so each, like that's just awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, got to get down there. Well, I mean, it hasn't happened. I don't want to put any of that out there, but I have heard that one day Mumbo's is going to have to make way for an impending apartment building, is what I've been told. So that's not on the cards yet. But if make
How
sure you
many
go and
times
support it, is all I'm saying, because
has
it's a
this
really good
happened?
thing that we've
Yeah,
got
that's
going.
never happened before on the Central Coast.
No.
Or New South Wales.
Yeah.
Never has a music venue made way for apartments.
No, or ones that haven't been built a la Rhythm Hut. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure the Mumbo's crew would move elsewhere, but I think its location and everything is so cool right now, and what it's got going for it is as well.
To turn it into a Mumbo fest.
Yeah, 100%. And we've got so much happening on the coast at the moment now. I mean, even on the weekend, it was like Friday, I think Tiali and another local artist who we hadn't heard of, but we now follow on Instagram, Cam, is called Honey, who I hadn't heard of before, but they were playing at, I can't remember the name of the place. It's in Long Jetty. It's normally a cafe, and it was like they transformed it for a night gig. It was just another venue that had opened the doors to allow live music in, and doing that thing. Granted, it wasn't a weekend, but it was just putting music in more venues in front of more people, and this was like people were going there for dinner, so it wasn't like get really rowdy gig, but it sold out. So it's so nice to see.
Yeah, I think, you know, everything's just obviously completely on TikTok and virtual and social media sort of thing. So just having at least a little bit of, you know, the live music aspect still bubbling away is really cool. Because obviously you've got, you know, your big shows and stuff that happen in the stadiums and the Horden and all that kind of thing. But having the smaller shows, you know, still as active as ever is really important. So yeah,
I would say probably the most active that we've had for a little while, at least. And I think Mumbo's is largely the reason for that, because they are putting on weekly gigs, and it is now, and Lincoln Pin as well down at Woy Woy doing fantastic things too. And there are probably other venues that we always just mention Mumbo's and Lincoln Pin, and I'm sure there are many other venues doing live music opportunities for young and emerging artists, which is fantastic. But the point we always come back to now, without the Rhythm Hut, there's almost that sort of medium-sized venue doesn't really exist on the coast anymore, because you've got Drifters Wharf, which is sort of your top premier venue locally, all the little pubs and clubs and Mumbo's and that sort of stuff happening, but where's the next step up before you get to Drifters locally?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a bit of a gap there to fill. Like, and I feel like, you know, the Rhythm Hut was that venue for quite a while there, especially towards the end, where, yeah, I think that was definitely the venue to fill that gap. And they just started doing all ages gigs and all sorts of stuff there. So yeah.
Long Jetty Hotel has thrown their support behind some more local artists, and I went down to one of them, and I was actually disappointed by how few people were there. There was a cover band playing in the next room, and the cover band, they were granted a good cover band, but they had everybody there, and I was like, go in.
Were they covering the classics? Was that?
It was like they were covering. I can't even remember what they were playing. Some classics, but it was a good, I suppose, stage presence. But we had friends of the show, not Turtle Custard, Spicy Lemons. Spicy Lemons were playing. Brandon Duff was playing, and before Spicy Lemons, I can't remember who it was, but it was a really good lineup of local acts. And I was like, I don't know if the issue was visibility, people didn't know about it, or it was just an off night or whatever. But it's like, get down to these things. This is what you need to be at, because that venue size didn't. It's not as cool as a Rhythm Hut was, I think, of a space to be in, but it was a similar size in terms of filling that gap that we're speaking about.
Can we just say, thank Christ, Drifters came along and the Beery is no longer the premier venue, because like many a good time had at the Beery, but for live music, it just was not it.
No, not at all. So, boys, looking ahead, we know you've got one more single coming out, gigs coming up. Is there thoughts or works towards any kind of body of work, or are you going to be taking it one track at a time as we look into 2025?
Yeah, I think one track at a time at the moment. We do like intend on going for like an EP or a kind of body of work at one point, but I think in the near future at least, we're just kind of wanting to drop, a few singles and just try and get things happening on that front a little bit in parallel with getting some shows happening as well.
And if people want to find those shows,
if people want to find them,
follow
basically
you guys?
just we're on everything, so you'll definitely see when we're going to play somewhere. Yeah.
And it's Sugar Soap Music is the handle?
Sugar Soap Music.
Yeah, Sugar Soap Music is the handle to find them. And you have to Google it that way, of course, because if you
The
just Google
brand.
Sugar Soap, you
That's
get
it.
you get the literal Sugar Soap coming up.
Bunnings links and stuff.
Yeah, but it works so well if you just go, because some bands, obviously, we do this a bit. If you look up Sugar Soap, well, not Sugar Soap Band. For you guys, Sugar Soap Band, you come up straight away. If you look up whatever their name is, band, still sometimes it's a battle to find them. So all you can do,
My big one was Goldblum.
Oh, yeah.
The local duo. I don't know if they're still doing stuff, but I remember we were interviewing them and I said, all right, Goldblum. Oh, Jeff Goldblum. Okay, Goldblum band. And then Jeff Goldblum has a jazz band. So the whole first, that you could not find them anywhere. The SEO was horrendous. So you guys at least have that covered.
Yeah, just chuck music or band after and you should find us.
yeah. So find.
And we're not great with SEO either, actually. You search Homebrewed and the Christianity podcast comes up before us.
Which we've been known to do. We regularly record a Christianity podcast. It's just separate to this one.
Yeah, that's us as well.
Yeah.
That's our side podcast. But SEO is super important for reachability and all that sort of stuff. And you got a good name in Sugar Soap too. So
Yeah, it's a fun name.
It is a fun name. So Sugar Soap Music, wherever you find it, and likewise Spotify, wherever you get it. I actually did want to touch quickly before we... Oh, the
Before we
mic stand
drop
that
our
I'm
mics.
leaning on just dropped. Maybe it's because I was leaning on it. Before we do let you go, the response, right? So when I wrote that little piece about Living Uptown, I was just looking up to see what's been said about the song. It's been... there was like a few articles on the track itself, and I know you guys have been added to a couple of playlists too for it, which is really positive because that is in modern music what you need to do. But there was one particular article about the song that I found, and I'm certain it was written by AI. So it was so long. It was like so long, and the way that the sentences were structured just were like a bit like. It just didn't quite make sense to me. Have you seen that particular article?
I don't think I have actually.
Okay.
The AI one. No,
I'm
I
going
don't
to
think
try.
I have.
I'll try. It could have been written by somebody, but I was reading it going, this feels AI. I'll try and
feels
find
robotic.
it.
Someone's gone to ChatGPT, write me a review of a new song by a band called Sugar Soap. They're indie / this is their genre, this is their vibe. The song is called this. Enter.
Yeah, it felt like that. It was very verbose, and the way they said things, it was funny. But on that response, generally, I did want to speak more about the fact that real people have written nice articles outside of us and the robot about you guys. And you also were added to those playlists too, which I think is really positive. So is that something you try and make happen, or did it just happen and then all of a sudden you've got all these thousands more eyes and ears on your music?
Yeah, I guess just with any kind of release plan or anything, it's just basically pitching the song and things. But yeah, we were pretty stoked with because we've been pretty quiet for the year kind of thing, and we were definitely pretty stoked with just the response of finally putting another track out and everything. And then getting on some playlists and things, as you said, is the way to do the music thing these days, it seems, or TikTok. Yeah, that was really cool for us. So yeah, but we sort of in a way just wanted to use this release as setting up for future releases as well.
And how much of that gap, obviously with the band member leaving, that's going to take a bit of consultation between yourselves of how we want to move forward. But was there also a conscious, approach to having that gap and saying, let's try and space this out and then have a clear separation from going from a trio to a duo? Or was it literally just as soon as you figured out, record, upload?
I think we were just also quite busy in our personal lives as well for a little bit there.
And you were traveling overseas.
And we were traveling and stuff. So I think just naturally there was a bit of dead air there kind of thing. But I think just we made a bit of a conscious decision to, when we do get back into it, like let's really give it a hard go and really get back active playing shows and everything. So we're pretty close to that stage now.
So I know when we went from the radio show to the podcast, we had so many discussions about, do we just like keep it rolling? Do we want a clear separation? If we want a gap, do we want it to be 2 weeks, a month, 6 months? Like how long should we leave it? And all those conversations were happening. So you were having those similar sort of conversations, or that's just the way between being busy and life and the way everything happened? That's just the way it worked out.
I think just everything just sort of happened naturally. Just, whatever, how long we were sort of gone for a little bit, just sort of happened. But yeah, it just gave us time to sort of fine tune and see what sort of direction, the sound we want to go for. And yeah, I'm pretty stoked at how it's going.
There's almost, I think, less pressure having that gap too.
Yeah, I think it probably took a bit of maybe we sort of needed that break as well to like as Jordan said, like fine tune a few things and just recalibrate with stuff, and maybe just kind of experiment with some stuff as well. So I think in a way maybe that break was sort of needed for us. So yeah.
And the proof's in the pudding, because it's paid dividends in terms of that eyeballs and attention as we do head into whatever that next single will be. We do know it's imminent. So there's a lot to look forward to with you guys, and it has been great to sit down and chew the fat once more for the third time, we're pretty sure. Definitely.
Number 3, I think.
Number 3. So more music in the works, more shows in the work. Get your eyes on Sugar Soap Music everywhere you find social media, and more stuff imminent. Guys, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having us again.
Thanks for having us.
What an episode. And it was all thanks to my good friend Eamonn Snow, who put it all together. It was recorded at Sonora Studios at Tuggerah, thanks to Jack Negro. And for more from us, head to www.homebrewed.au.